Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining another week. Have a great show planned for you today. Later on, I have with me Scott Blass, who's a partner at my law firm, Bordas & Bordas. We'll be talking about a couple of golf tournaments he's involved with, including the Bordas & Bordas Amateur Classic, the Driving for a Cure golf tournament that's held later in the year. And we'll also be talking about his area of work, which is bad faith insurance law and many other areas as well. But first, we'll start with some of our usual features. And I want to start off talking about the roads here in the local area. There's been a lot of complaints about the roads, and as I go across my feed on Facebook, a lot of problems in the Marshall County, particularly on the ridges, Hancock County, here in Ohio County, but also a lot of construction going on to try to deal with the roads, primarily on some of the main traveled roads, Route 2 in Moundsville, Glendale area, Route 40, National Road in Ohio County, Interstate 70. Taking people a lot longer to get places, a lot of construction to go around or wait through, things of that nature. On the other hand, you have people complaining about the roads. So that balance there, if we want our roads to be fixed, there's got to be some construction done. But I really do hope that the government, the Department of Highways, the governor really takes to heart what people are saying about the road conditions and some of the outer areas that aren't necessarily being addressed right now. If you look at some of these ridges in Marshall County, for example, entire roadways are just falling down the hillside, making it very, very difficult for people to get where they're going, one lane in some places, and very unsafe as well in other places. So there's this huge bond, this law that passed in order to be able to get the roads repaired, and now maybe some shifts in terms of how that money is being used, not necessarily in the manner in which it was intended in a lot of ways, and it needs to be done. I mean, if you can't get around, first of all, it's unsafe for people. Second of all, it makes it very inconvenient and difficult for people. But third, businesses aren't going to want to invest here. So, the governor needs to stick to what he said he would do, what he promised people, and get these roads taken care of. But also, people need to have some patience while it's going on, because if we want to be fixed, there's got to be some construction. Give a legal tip here this week. That is that if you buy a house with someone that you're not married to, you could be asking for real problems if there's a falling out. I've seen different situations where people buy things, a lot of times houses, with someone that they're not married to, and think, well, okay, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and we're going to buy this house together, and then later on maybe we'll get married, and then they have a falling out. There's no divorce laws to protect them, no family laws to protect them, and now they've got this huge asset that they own together. Oftentimes it comes along with a mortgage, so it's not necessarily an asset, maybe it's a liability. And now it's like, how are we going to deal with this? And maybe one person doesn't do what they were supposed to have done before. Maybe they were sharing in mortgage payments or whatever it may be. One person wants to sell the house, the other doesn't. And there's really nothing to guide them there. It's just they're kind of stuck until they can reach an agreement on what they're going to do with this. And sometimes they never can. Sometimes the person disappears and they don't see them again. So really kind of a bad idea to buy something that's that expensive, of that nature, with someone that you're not married to and you don't have any type of protection under the laws, or to the same protection of the laws anyway that you would have if you were married. So really give thought to that as to whether or not you want to engage in that type of investment with someone that you're not married to. Maybe better to rent or do something else until you do officially get married. So just keep that in mind, because I've seen that time and time again where people have called. It happens with cars as well, other assets, but see it with houses a lot. I'll give you a quote this week, and this comes from Doris Day, the singer and actress who died this week at the age of 97. Of course, very well known for the dozens of movies that she starred in. And the quote from her was, "The really frightening thing about middle age is the knowledge that you'll grow out of it." And I thought that was particularly interesting. I mean, she obviously grew out of middle age, reached the age of 97 before she finally passed. But so many people talk about when their birthdays come along. They say, I don't want to talk about it, but a couple things. Really, there's only really one alternative to getting another year older, and it's not a great one. And second of all, middle age isn't so bad. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I'm 44, if that could be considered middle age or not. But, it's really tough when you get into, maybe the 70s, 80s, 90s, and your body really starts to go, and you really can't get around the way you used to. And sometimes people are confined to beds and dealing with serious debilitating illnesses, or the mind starts to go. Middle age can really be a good time, I think, when people have the benefit of experience, but still have a little bit of that energy of youth as well. So interesting quote there by her about, the scary thing is that you'll grow out of it. So she provided a lot of entertainment to many people for years, and may she rest in peace. But a great quote there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll have with me my guest this week, Scott Blass. We'll be talking some golf tournaments and also talking some law. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
Country music lives on at the 2019 Blame My Roots Festival, starring Trace Adkins, Tyler Farr, Joe Diffie, Whiskey Myers, Lindsay L., Gabby Barrett, and more. July 18th through the 20th at Valley View Campgrounds in Belmont, Ohio. Tickets now at blamemyrootsfestival.com.
You earned it. Let us help you save it. Belmont Savings Bank. Focused on your future.
Welcome back to the show. This is my favorite time each week when I have a guest with me, and this week's no different. I have with me Scott Blass, who's one of my law partners, former president of the West Virginia Association for Justice, and a longtime lawyer here in the Wheeling area. Scott, thanks for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, we'll get to a little bit of legal stuff maybe later on after we take another commercial break, but I want to start off talking about, you know, a couple golf tournaments that you've been very heavily involved with. One, you know, just for a year or so now, but the other one for a long time. And let's start off with the newest edition, which is the Bordas and Bordas Amateur Classic up at Oglebay. New name, but and new title sponsor in our firm, but this golf tournament's been around for a lot of years.
Yes, this is the oldest running amateur golf tournament by far in the state, and based on our research, it's the third oldest in the country. It was established, I think, originally in 1937, and has been played every year since. Now, it's had different sponsors. We were asked last year, our firm was asked, and we were approached by Oglebay if we would take over that sponsorship, and of course, you know, we were right there to do it because it's such a tradition in the Valley. We have players come from all over the tri-state to play in it, and from states across the country. We've had players from California, as far west as California, as far north I think as Maine. We've had them from all. It's a very large event, and it's for a very good cause. We've selected the Oglebay Foundation as our charity to receive the benefits that we raise, the money that we raised. Last year we were able to donate $10,000, and that money is used by them for their open parks, I think it's called.
Access to the parks.
Access to the parks is precisely what it's called, and that gives underprivileged kids in the Valley the ability to enjoy the park system absolutely free. They can go to the zoo, they go to the putt-putt, anywhere in the park, and it's a tremendous organization, and we're very happy to support it.
You know, you're talking about the players, how they come from all over, but you know, it also brings out kind of the best, you know, of the local players here. You know, I know you've been a member of the Oglebay Men's Golf Club for a long time, but you see the players that participate in this tournament. Thad O'Beckney II winning last year, you know, who's playing right now, you know, some professional golf.
Yeah, other folks will have a chance to win this year because Thad turned pro, and this is an amateur event, so he will not be playing. But we have some tremendous amateurs, and I'm glad you mentioned the Oglebay Park Men's Golf Club because that club has been involved in this event for as long as I can remember, and they help run the event, and it makes it very smooth for us with them running the event. And you can go to, if people are interested and want to play, they can go to the Bordas and Bordas website. There are registration forms there that they can obtain to sign up for the event, and it is June 8th and 9th this year. It's a 2-day event. You're guaranteed to play 2 days, and it's a 2-man best ball, but it's also a medal event. And then there are flights, so after the first day, there's a first flight that's moved I always end up in, I have no chance of winning, so the first flight players play for a championship, and then the medal players, the best players, will play the second day for the medal championship.
But everybody plays both days.
Everyone gets to play both days. We used to have a cut, and we decided that we wanted everybody to enjoy both days of the event.
You know, golfers understand this, but like somebody like myself who doesn't golf a whole lot, you know, the best ball, the way that works is you got a teammate.
Yes, you have a teammate, so you're also in a best ball tournament. So you and your teammate, you just write down the best score. If your teammate has a 4 on the hole and you have a 5, you get a 4 on that hole. Even though you made a 5 for your team event, you just record your best ball. And that's a lot of fun because then you can actually stay in the tournament even if you're not playing your best golf.
That would be me. You know, some great sponsors over the years of this tournament. You know, Bernhardt's for years and years, dating back to the 40s all the way through kind of the end of the last century, and then Weldy Buick, and then Calcruth Roofing and Sheet Metal for about a decade before our firm took over the sponsorship. And Calcruth's still sponsoring another event now up at the Spidell courses, I guess.
Yes, they took over the Stony Hollow event that Stony Hollow Tire did for 18 years. And so when they decided to move up to that event, that left the classic, the old event, open, and that's when they approached us. And like I said, we're happy to jump in and accept that sponsorship.
One of the nice things about this has been, in addition to us having the title sponsorship, we've reached out to and have been able to get some other companies to chip in as sponsors too, so the golfers get some, you know, gear and stuff like that when they sign up to play, you know, with you know, shirts and things of that nature.
Yes, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, of course, has been with us. Glessner and Associates has been with us. We picked up a new major sponsor this year in Dawn's Appliances. We'll be sponsoring some of the gifts. Golfers, everyone that participates gets a nice golfer's gift. I think you're going to get a cooler this year with golf balls in it, maybe a hat and a shirt, so everybody gets something nice to take home, even if it's not a trophy. That's my trophy that I get every year.
You know, I mentioned that you're involved in another golf event as well, and that's the Driving for a Cure Golf Classic that's put on by Ohio Valley Breast Cancer Awareness. That's an organization that you and your wife Kathy started, gosh, you know, over a decade ago now, to help support women and their families who are fighting breast cancer and to provide them with services and things that they may not receive from health insurance.
Yes, my wife is a breast cancer survivor, as you know. Kathy has been cancer-free, I think, for 16 years now. And when she was going through the treatment, we saw, you know, how expensive things were. Much of the things that these women need and that will help them aren't covered by health insurance, aren't covered by regular private health insurance, not by Medicare, not by Medicaid. And so we decided to form a nonprofit charitable organization, and this is our only fundraiser every year, the Driving for a Cure Scramble. It's on the second Friday of October every year during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We'll be playing, I believe, the Palmer course this year. We always play at Spidell. We alternate courses each year, and the monies that are raised are used to support women in the Valley and actually all over the tri-state area now with things that they need, that they can't actually get their insurance to pay for, things like camisoles, things like robes that are easy access for their chemotherapy. We provide a snack room at OV, so the patients can have something to eat. It's good for them to have something to eat, free of charge. We also provide that at what was, I guess they still call it Reynolds Memorial, but is now owned by WVU, at their infusion therapy center. We have raised and donated $325,000 over the last 13 years. Wow. And we have recently started distributing books. We have distributed a book titled Cancer Now What? My wife saw the book, read it, and it is really informative for the cancer patients. And we have those books at 11, along with the other services, at 11 hospitals from Cleveland to Charleston, Morgantown, Pittsburgh. So once some hospitals hear about it and they get the reports on it, others want to participate, and that's great. The other really beneficial thing we can give to the breast cancer patients and survivors is what's called a Strength for Life program. It's down at the Healthplex in Benwood. And they have a personal trainer 2 days a week. They can exercise and get the workouts free of charge. And study after study has shown how much benefit that is for for keeping down the recurrence rate and just to help them mentally with the battle they're going through.
That's great. I mean, I didn't realize it was $325,000 over the 13 years. That's something else
Yeah,
to be able to do that.
you know, we couldn't do it without, I was so happy that my partners, you and your mom and dad and Chris and Jeff were right there when we asked for a major sponsorship. We've been there every year for them. Robinson Automotive Group has been with us since day one. And without those major sponsors, you just can't raise the kind of money that you need to provide the services and benefits that we want to provide.
That's great that you and Kathy do that. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking a little bit about Scott's job, which is being a lawyer, and some of the insurance issues that he deals with. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
When reviewing your oil and gas offers or royalty check statements, do you wonder, am I being offered a fair amount? Do I feel comfortable reading the statement? Do I have peace of mind? If you answered no to these questions, you need Bordas Mineral Management. Our passion is helping mineral owners protect and expand their mineral wealth. Our examiners tell you whether you're being treated fairly and getting paid what is rightfully yours. Bordas Mineral Management. Be protected. Have peace of mind.
Hi, I'm Mitch Vingle with Wheelhouse Creative, but you may remember me from my days covering the Mountaineers. Every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, I'll be hosting Off the Record, a series of sports shows featuring the very best personalities. And don't forget, Thursday is Burger Night at Generations. Check out their delicious hamburgers and their famous pierogies. And remember, it's all off the record.
Welcome back to the show. I've been speaking with my guest this week, Scott Blass, who's my law partner and former president of the West Virginia Association for Justice. And Scott, before the break, we were talking about some of the charitable things you do involved with the golf tournaments and things of that nature. But let's turn to kind of your day job, which is practicing law. And one of the big areas that you've been involved with throughout your career has been insurance law and insurance bad faith. And people may hear those terms, not necessarily understand what insurance bad faith is, but maybe let the viewers know exactly kind of what that is.
Well, if you think of it as the insurance company, you're paying your insurance company a premium to do things for you, right? You're paying them money to protect you. And so your insurance company has an obligation to you in order to fulfill their role in that relationship. And if they don't protect you and they are not treating you fairly and are not doing things promptly, are not resolving claims in a reasonable fashion, then they can be held accountable for that if it's your own insurance company. There's in every insurance contract, there's what's known as an implied covenant. And people have heard the word covenant, there's meaning to that. It's a promise that they're gonna treat you fairly and do the right thing. And just denying a claim for whatever reason an insurance company can find is not the right thing. And simply delaying a claim for the sake of delay is certainly not the right thing. The old adage, justice delayed is justice denied. And if people are mistreated by their insurance company, they have remedies in addition to simply obtaining the benefits that they purchased on their policy, be it an auto policy benefit, be it a life insurance policy benefit, be it a homeowner's insurance policy benefit. There are additional remedies available if that policyholder is not treated appropriately.
One of those remedies that people may not be aware of is this is one area of the law. There aren't many like this, but that's one area of the law where you can actually perhaps recover your attorney's fees if your insurance company hasn't treated you fairly and you have to go get a lawyer in order to get those benefits.
Yes, you're correct. In West Virginia, there is a legal doctrine that's called the substantially prevailing doctrine. And it is a doctrine that is developed through the common law, of course, being the law developed by the courts rather than by the legislature, where the courts have said this is how these claims are going to be resolved. And the West Virginia Supreme Court, probably 30 plus years ago, issued a decision and said, people in West Virginia don't buy insurance to buy litigation. You don't buy insurance to buy a fight. You don't buy insurance in order to have to go get a lawyer and pay a lawyer to get you the benefits that you've already paid for. And so our court has said, if you substantially prevail in that claim, where you have to go, you're forced by your insurance company to go get a lawyer to get your claim resolved, and you substantially prevail, then in those situations, your insurance company can be held responsible to also pay your attorney fees in addition to the benefits to which you are entitled under your policy.
You know, some of the areas that we've seen that happen, and you mentioned a couple of them, you know, in the auto context, homeowners, life insurance, but life insurance is a big one that I've seen because, you know, typically the person making the claim isn't the one that purchased the policy in the first place. Usually it's the person who's deceased that bought the policy to benefit, you know, either their widower or their children or whatever, to help pay for the funeral or the gravesite or the headstone, whatever it may be. And the folks that are left behind, they don't know what the deal was, but they, even though they weren't the ones that bought the policy, would still be what's called a first party insured to be able to bring that type of claim.
Yeah, the West Virginia Supreme Court did issue a decision maybe a decade ago that clarified that, because the insurance company that mistreated those folks, the survivors of the individual whose life was insured, tried to say, well, you're really not the person who paid the premium, so we shouldn't have to pay your lawyer fees even though we illegitimately denied your claim. And our Supreme Court said, no, that's not fair. These are the intended beneficiaries of that contract. And if I purchase a contract of life insurance to benefit my wife, to benefit my children, they're the ones I purchased it for. For the insurance company to treat them inappropriately is simply unacceptable.
Of course, you've lectured around the state of West Virginia on these topics to other lawyers about insurance claims, coverages, how to handle cases, things of that nature. But throughout the course of your career, I know you've seen this from some of the larger insurance companies that people have maybe heard of, the AIGs and the Allstates and State Farms, Nationwides, things like that, and then also some of the smaller companies. But you've taken on both small and large companies in that context.
Yeah, the refusal to handle claims appropriately and timely isn't unique to any one carrier. Now, granted, some carriers are better than others. Some insurance companies seem to have more concern for their policyholder than others. But insurance companies, they are in the business to make money, and I understand that, and the courts understand that. But there's a limit to what you can do to maximize your bottom line, and that limit is set at don't mistreat your policyholder. And mistreating your policyholder is just not the right way to send a message to other people that we're fair, we're your good neighbor, you're in good hands. That's not the right message to send when I have a claim and I've been paying premiums and my claim can't be resolved expeditiously and fairly. That's not giving me the benefit of the bargain as the policyholder.
Well, your work in that area and others is certainly no small reason in which you were awarded West Virginia Association for Justice Member of the Year and things of that nature and other awards that you've received. So thanks for the good work you continue to do. And just will say it here on the air, one of the best partners anybody could ever have in any job is Scott Blass. It's a pleasure, always a pleasure working with him, and been great to work with him over the years. So
appreciate that. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks for being here on the show.
Thank you.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking sports. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
Sometimes bad things happen to good people. At Bordas & Bordas, when we see this, we do something about it. We can't prevent bad things from happening, but we can get justice when they do.
Bordas & Bordas, fighting for justice.
The Panhandle Difference.
It was a really easy process getting started with them, and then bam, it just took off. We've had a lot of gatherings here. We've had a whole basketball team. We've had lots of family dinners, birthday parties. I mean, I can't wait for holidays to come. It's a great kitchen. Honestly, it couldn't have turned out any better.
Welcome back to the show. It's time to talk sports, and we'll start in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers have signed first-round pick Devin Bush to a contract. And this is great news because sometimes there can be contract delays in trying to get a deal done. They got that deal done and have him out there practicing with the rookies, etc. So good to see him wearing number 55 for the black and gold. It'll be exciting to watch. And he's a three-down linebacker. It should be a real contributor, I think, on this year's team. See what happens. Staying in Pittsburgh, the Pirates able to take three of the last three games of the 4-game series against St. Louis in St. Louis to kind of get back on the winning record side of things and get themselves back on track. Still, a few games out of first, but be interesting to see what happens. That was a big series, and to go get 3 out of 4 in St. Louis was certainly big for the Pirates. But what I really want to talk about is the NBA. I had an opportunity last week to go catch Game 5 of the Golden State Warriors Houston Rockets series in California. Got to see that game at Oracle Arena in Oakland. And man, I tell you what an electric atmosphere. You see the type of home court advantage that the Warriors get out there when they play at Oracle Arena. This is the last year for Oracle Arena. They'll be tearing it down. They'll be moving over to play in downtown San Francisco next year. But, a big game environment. It was tied 2-2. Then Kevin Durant goes down in the second half. And instead of that crowd being deflated and things kind of falling apart, they kind of lifted the team up, and then Steph Curry got going and really caught fire. And then, of course, they won that game. And then without Kevin Durant, go to Houston in Game 6. Steph Curry held scoreless in the first half. No Kevin Durant, no DeMarcus Cousins, who's been out now for a couple of weeks with an injury. And Steph Curry goes and gets 33 points in the second half, including 23 in the fourth quarter, to eliminate the Houston Rockets. And, just a really, really great performance by the Golden State Warriors in that series. And, their motto is strength in numbers, and I think they really showed it. The bench coming up big in that Game 6 win in Houston. And now the Warriors will move on to face the Portland Trailblazers, who interestingly have Steph Curry's brother, Seth Curry, on the roster. He doesn't start, but he's a key contributor, great shooter off the bench. And now, in fact, their parents say they're going to flip a coin actually to decide who wears which team's jerseys for the game between mom and dad there. But, Warriors kind of clicking on all cylinders despite the fact of having 2 starters out and Kevin Durant and DeMarcus Cousins. They look like they could be on track to win another championship. And out east, Milwaukee has been cruising, and they'll now face the Toronto Raptors. Kawhi Leonard hits a big shot, first time ever in a Game 7 buzzer beater. The ball, it was the 5th roll, I think, before it went in. I mean, it bounce, drops in. To eliminate the Philadelphia 76ers. Now they'll face the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. This NBA playoffs has had a lot of storylines, a lot of fun. If you don't watch the NBA and you think it's all dunks, it's really not anymore. It's a lot of fun, some ball movement and some high-flying action. I kind of enjoy it, and I think you will too if you check it out. And then just want to mention also the PGA Championship, don't forget, is this week. Normally in August, moved to May for the first time this year at Bethpage Black, where Tiger Woods has won before. He's kind of gotten himself straightened out now physically and mentally, coming off that big Masters win, kind of on top of the world again now. Received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from the President recently. He'll be tough to beat. He's the betting favorite at either 9-1 or 8-1, depending on which book you go to. But I like Tiger Woods again. I think he's just gotten himself straightened out, and he's going to be tough to beat all year long. That's all the time we have. Thanks for joining again this week. We'll see you next time on the Jamie Bordas Show.